Hey, welcome to a live meet at the Apple. We just wrapped up opening week at Citi Field. I'm Vito Calisi. That's Jonathan Barron, and we're here with Hunter Taubes, our producer, sitting over on the side. But John, it's unfortunate to end on a sour note for such a sweet opening week, right?
A fantastic opening week. Hello, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Mets and Marlins wrap up this 3-game series. The Mets go 5-1 on this season opening homestand. A great week here at Citi Field, and they'll hit the road. And yeah, like you mentioned, if you take 2 of 3 and you lose game 1, you win games 2 and 3, or you win the bookend games and you lose the middle one, it's got a different perception, especially for you and I when we do these post-series wrap-ups and we're coming off a loss. But there's a lot to love about this Mets team, what they did, not just in this series, but the whole homestand. The arms we know have been elite, missing tons of bats. The offense has been up and down, and we know the weather is not conducive to offense. The Mets are going to a place that's not the case. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but there is a lot to be very excited about, very proud about here. This first week, you guys, if you were here at Citi Field for any of the 6 games, you guys showed up, you showed out. We all appreciate that. We all feel it. We all notice it. So thank you. Keep it up all season long. And yeah, I feel really good leaving this homestand in the history books as the Mets now go on the road, and a lot to build off of.
Yeah. And you know what? I think that's a perfect time. Why don't we jump into our top 5 moments of the Miami Marlins at Citi Field versus the New York Mets? Number 5, I want to give a big shout out to the Mets fans who came here all week, but specifically the Mets fans who came out on Tuesday for that game that got moved from 7 to 4. We're working here, and we work here a lot of games where, times get changed. We've had the doubleheader last year against Detroit in the first week where things were a little different, but we've been here for games where we were like, oh, I wonder how many fans are going to show up, and I wonder if they're going to be into it. Not only did more fans than I think anybody expects show up for that 4 p.m. game, but the energy, the volume, the atmosphere, everybody who came wanted to be there so badly. We're in the social media booth over in around section 311. I could hear a bunch of people from the 7 line doing the he struck him out chant, keeping the energy up. So fans, thank you so much for bringing that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Tuesday's energy, the energy this entire series, especially with the weather being not great. Monday night was a rainy night. We had Bark in the Park, a ton of dogs up there in the Coke Corner. 27,000 people here, plus I think on Monday night. And like you mentioned, Tuesday, not just fans, but I saw the hot dog costumes that was making its round on the internet. There was a dude in a chicken costume there, which we put up him split screen with a bird, which was funny. There were people with flags, and it was loud for the kind of attendance based on the circumstances. Game 3 hours earlier, you're thinking it's a night game, you go to work that day, now you can't anymore. If you played hooky, by the way, much respect on that. But yeah, no, it was a really it was a positive crowd. It was positive to see that even with the circumstance, so many people were coming out to Citi Field still, especially when it felt like 27 degrees.
Yeah.
I beat you to it.
You know what's funny, dude? We've done a lot of episodes on this show. I would say it's one of the most it's the most random interaction I've seen where we didn't put anything up. More people were tagging me about the 27 degrees, the feels like 27 thing. So yeah, look, I don't care how Saturday felt. I'll tell you what, the last few days definitely felt like 27. I might even go as 26 or 25.
But I want to shout out, I love what MLB did. And it's a thing that they're not just doing here, but all over the league, because the Yankees and Tigers in Detroit, they also had their games moved up. Making people sit in truly 27-degree weather, it's good for no one. It's good. It's bad for the players. It's bad for the quality of the game overall.
Yeah.
And it's bad for the fans to sit out there. People that are paying money to come to these games to enjoy 9 innings of a major league game when you cannot feel your toes, it's not good. I was here at the Winter Classic back in 2018, January 1st, 2018. I was up in section 534, I think. Obviously, that's January. But I remember I purchased a beverage at the time that literally froze on me, and I paid like $20 for it. And I had no interest in even consuming it anymore because it was so unpleasant just to hold it in my hand because it was so cold. So it's great for the league to be getting ahead of these things, to try to make these circumstances as easy for both the players and the fans alike. So shout out MLB for doing that, because I think a lot of people were kind of caught off guard when we heard that the game might be moved, and everyone checks the weather and sees, well, it's not supposed to rain. So what's it for? And then you realize, oh, it's because the real temperature is going to dip under 40. And with the wind chill, it's going to be feeling like it's, 20 something degrees. That's not good. So I love MLB did that. I think everyone agrees. It was a great decision, and it was a fun day here, like you said. So good job, fans. Good job, MLB, and good job, Mets.
Yeah, I mean, 1,000%. I want to just quickly follow up what John said and agree. Like, I do love this standard being set week one of like, hey, sometimes it's better to move a game up than it is to delay a game or postpone a game.
100%.
Because if the weather, and especially like the cold is a thing you can actually predict. The cold, it's a different situation. The rain, if you don't know when the rain's actually going to hit.
Right, storms move.
Exactly. So I did love moving the game up, giving fans a chance to get here if they really wanted to come. All for it. I would love to see that be the more common scenario going forward. But
my only regret is I wanted to, but we didn't have enough. I wanted to do a hand warmer toss instead of the t-shirt toss. So maybe next time we'll do that. But we need a big supply of hand warmers. So, but yeah.
All right.
What's number 4?
Number 4, top 5 moments, Marlins Mets. It's a good sign when your guys are walking, when your guys are getting on base. Mark Vientos with a 3-walk game on Monday night.
Yeah, and I know this sounds like, okay, this is a very encouraging sign. He drew another walk on Wednesday. It was one of the base runners the Mets had on. So, Mark is struggling, right? He's not off to the white hot start many people predicted he would be off to. In the postseason last year, he was one of the best hitters in the playoffs. And I know John Smoltz spoke about this. I think it was the Saturday night in Houston a couple weeks ago, talking about the postseason Mark had and why it was so impressive. And not just because he set the Mets single postseason RBI record, but because the pitchers you're facing in the playoffs are the cream of the crop. And Mark did that under the brightest of lights against the best competition. We remember all the big home runs he hit, the homer he hit against Matt Strahm to tie the game 2 against the Phillies, the homer he hit against Yoshinobu Yamamoto here in the NLCS. So Mark has not found that stroke yet, but what's important is he is not getting himself out. He is not making it easier on the opposition to try to manage him and keep him down in the batter's box. And for him to draw not 1, not 2, but 3 walks on Monday tells me, number 1, he's seeing the ball well. Number 2, he's not overly jumpy. And we know that this man hits the you-know-what out of the baseball. And so he's going to be fine in the power department. Anyone that's been following Mark Vientos throughout his career, going back to the minor leagues, knows he has light tower power to all fields. He is going to be just fine. But it's important to see a guy, if he's struggling a little bit, to not be overly aggressive at the plate. And Mark is not doing that. So it's a great sign for me. I know a lot of people on Twitter were talking about that as well. So Mark Vientos drawing 3 walks on Monday night, a great sign moving forward.
And before we move on to number 3, I want to just give a shout out to the comments. We got some people in the comments section. We got people from all over. We got people from Facebook. We got people from YouTube, people from Twitter.
MySpace?
And no, MySpace, not yet. We're trying to get back into that.
You're too young for that.
Elliot Levy didn't get another sweep, but will take 2 out of 2 on the series. I'll take it. And like, you know what? That is, I want to see more of that. I understand. Like we said to start this episode, losing on game 3 when you win 2, it feels different than when you win, lose, win.
Yeah.
But it's still, guess what? We still won 2 out of 3, and this team is off to a tremendous start. And one of those people, I think this is a good lead into number 3, having easily his best start in a Mets uniform to start the season is Francisco Lindor. Francisco Lindor, number 3, leadoff home run. It's really fun to see Lindor getting off to a good start, and it almost feels even more promising in him getting so hot with how cold it is right now. Because I know one of the things people sometimes to attribute to this is the cold weather. Mm-hmm. It's tough to play in a place like New York. But with Lindor getting the hottest he's been in the coldest weather we've ever really seen at this ballpark in April, I love it.
Yeah, and the home run he hit on Tuesday, the leadoff that you mentioned, the Mets are trailing 2-0 going into the bottom of the first inning, and immediately he gets one of those runs back. He turns the tide. I'm sure Clay Holmes took a deep breath and said, all right, time to lock in. This offense is going to pick me up. Clay Holmes picks up his first win as a Met, strikes out a career-high 10. Obviously, he's been a reliever most of his career, so it's kind of redundant, but he was lights out. He was dominant, really settled in after that first inning. And it just, I think, gave the Mets dugout a feeling of, all right, you know what, like 2-0, no problem. We've got a great offense. We can come back from anything. Of course, on Wednesday they don't, but the home run, huge. He hits it on his wife's birthday. Since the birth of their 3rd child, Francisco has been inferno. We know that's been a thing with him going back to 2023.
That's his thing.
And look, he's just a great player. Picked up his 1,500th career hit earlier in the series. So congrats to Francisco about that. I know a lot of chatter right now about is the Hall of Fame in the future for Francisco, as who knows? He could stick around long enough. He's got, 7-8 years left on his contract. Yeah. Is 3,000 hits possible for his career? I don't see why it's not. So, he's been great at the top of the lineup. Most of the games on this homestand, he led things off with a hit. I think 4 of the 6 games he did so. So it's great to see that
8-game hitting streak.
Yep. So it's great to see he is off to a good start, like you mentioned. He's a great player. We know that. It's just nice to be feeling good early on in the season. So
Hunter has something.
I was going to say, even with him hitting the ball very well, even his outs are hard contact. Like he made the right fielder made a really nice sliding catch today on a ball that he laced into
in the ninth inning. Yep.
In the 9th inning, he's hit 2 or 3 balls to the warning track just in this series with the wind blowing straight in. You wait, next homestand, those balls are probably getting into the first couple of rows.
Yeah, he's definitely underperforming his XBA and his expected WOBA. So he's off to a great start at top of the Mets lineup. And that's why, Pete Alonso has all the RBI that he has, because he's constantly coming up with guys on base, with Lindor and Soto, who's been an on-base machine, as we all knew he would be. That's what is so dangerous about this Mets lineup, that even the bottom of the order, Hayden Sanger's done a good job getting on. And opposing teams know that they better retire 7, 8, 9. Because if one of those guys gets on and then you're flipping it over, you're probably facing a batter with a runner in scoring position, because Lindor or Soto, with their on-base percentages, you combine those two, like I'd say 6, 7 out of 10 times, one of them is getting on base. You know that. So it's a bad problem for other teams, good problem for us.
Yeah, man. It's really exciting to see the top of that lineup coming together the way that we were all drawing up in our minds going into this season. And just real quick, one thing that was so interesting to see, like the Miami Marlins defense this past 3 games was just like the tale of 2 defense. I don't know how to explain.
Well, I think it's infield outfield defense.
Yes.
Yeah. The infield defense definitely had some faux pas. And then you have Dane Myers making 2 of the best catches you'll ever see, robbing Tyrone Taylor with the bases loaded on Tuesday.
Would you say, me and Hunter were talking about this morning, catches you've seen live?
Live.
That's up there for me. That was a phenomenal catch.
I mean, the one he made on Wednesday, robbing Pete to end the game.
Against the wall, just...
honestly, look, I'm not an athlete, and I know center field is the most athletic position on the field, the most demanding on the body. And I know that you're probably not making a business decision. You're probably trying to make that play, but you're up 5-0. If you let that ball hit the wall and you just field it cleanly, like maybe Pete doubles, whatever.
Yeah.
Instead of diving head first, like into that was kind of a dangerous play.
That's very Mets brain of you, though.
And then, how is that Mets brain?
Letting Pete Alonso get the double.
No, it's not. It's not. I mean, I'm sure. By the way,
his point is this.
I know.
You're up 5-0. Like
we're in a Wednesday in April.
Yeah, we're playing the long game here. We're playing the long game. It was an incredible play, and obviously he was okay, but it was a very dangerous play.
It was scary. On first sight, when you see a guy go head first into a wall,
Superman into the fence like that,
and then just turn around like the Undertaker, just sit up. that impressed me.
It was badass.
Those 2 catches were super impressive. Man, and I'm going to give the infield defense this on every side of any infield, any defensive faux pas, as you just said. I can't imagine how hard that ball was these 3 days.
Yeah, and on Tuesday especially, it's windy, and on Monday it was wet out there. On Wednesday, the Marlins played a pretty crisp game defensively, I'd say. So,
but that ball must have been just a rock.
Yeah, no, it is what it is defensively. The Mets took advantage of the Marlins' mistakes. Teams don't always do so.
That's what you have to do.
It's what you got to do. But yeah, no, credit Dane Myers for the catches that he made on Tuesday and Wednesday.
You hear diving catch a lot, and it's not always a diving catch.
No, it's like Marty Brodeur used to do. He'd catch the puck and then he'd flip the glove, and it was like, stop it, Marty. You didn't have to do that.
You see a lot of guys jump up in the air as they're catching for no reason. That was a legitimate diving, just athletic play. So just like John said, props to Danny Myers.
Dane Myers.
Oh, Dane Myers. Sorry.
Great Dane.
Speaking
Speaking of Great Dane, that's a college nickname, University of Albany. I know that Hunter knew that. Congrats to Pete Alonso and the Florida Gators.
Yes.
And all the Danny Young's a Gator. Our buddy Harrison Bader, who we'll see pretty soon, is a Gator.
Do you think him and Pete will catch up for a second about the Gators when they see each other?
I think they'll probably catch up to more than just the Gators.
And big congrats to Pete Alonso.
That's right.
Pete Alonso
and Haley.
Pete Alonso and Haley announced they are having a child, and the Mets are just getting more and more kids on this. I mean, they're going to be fielding a Little League roster.
The Stroller Bear was an incredible sign. Whoever came up with that. That's awesome. So, yeah, just wanted to. I think that Haley and Pete's news is bigger than the Gators winning the Natty, but
It's all big.
Big week for Pete, no matter what.
Congrats, Brielle.
Tons of RBI. Yeah, congrats, Brielle, another Gator.
Brielle from marketing. Congrats. You went to Florida at the same time, I believe. So,
all right.
Former future Gator, Jesse Winker, too.
Yes, almost a Gator. Almost a Gator, Jesse Winker, Christian Scott, Brandon Sproat. We got a lot of Gators.
Lots of Gators.
A lot of Gators in baseball.
Lots of Gators.
Let's move on to number 2. Clay Holmes, 10 strikeout game. Started off a little rocky, but Clay Holmes just shows you that the stuff is there. And one of the most impressive things about this, not a single barrel.
Yeah, Kodai Senga did the same thing to the Marlins on Monday night. I think that's why this Mets rotation in general is having so much success.
No hard contact.
They're just not allowing much hard contact. I think they have the 4th most strikeouts in baseball right now, so they're missing bats. They've got elusive stuff. They game plan well. They're keeping hitters off balance. Like you said, the name of the game for Clay Holmes is stuff. He's a stuff god. He's always been a stuff god. And when he was a closer or a reliever, he gets one crack at it, right? You usually get one inning as a reliever. And if you give up a run or two, it's magnified. If you're a starting pitcher, you give up 2-3 runs over 5-6 innings, it's a good job. And for Clay Holmes, like we mentioned, settled down after the first inning and then really allowed nothing much after that. A great start against the same team. We talked about that with Senga facing the Marlins, 2 straight starts. Well, Clay Holmes did the same thing. And Clay Holmes struggled a bit the last time he faced the Marlins a week ago today. And he came back against them. His first start at Citi Field in the freezing cold weather. He did a great job. Super excited to see Clay Holmes. I think he'll probably pitch in Minnesota next. Yeah, that's where he'll be. It'll probably be freezing there. But a great start by Clay Holmes as the rotation starts its 3rd time through. So super happy to see the dominant effort by Clay.
You know, we've brought this up before about Clay, and it's that he's cerebral. Like, he's a thinker on the mound. He's always gaming. He always knows what he's plotting out. And one thing I like about Clay Holmes, what I like about guys on the staff is everybody has a big pitch mix, right? And Clay Holmes is the kind of guy who is able to test out his different stuff in the early parts of the game and figure out what he's feeling most comfortable with. So he said, Hayden Sanger and him both spoke after the game and said Clay was feeling his 4-seamer more than anything else. So you know what? He started throwing that more than he did in his last start. And that's what's good about a guy like Clay Holmes. He can adjust on the fly and he can figure out what feels right. And having a pitcher who just has that kind of sense of his own feel and his own stuff just goes such a long way. And I think that's part of that Jeremy Hefner kind of mentality and that philosophy we've seen is trusting your guys and trusting your own abilities.
And for the pitchers, do what's working. Because Clay talked to us in spring training and said he's more of a sinker guy. He's not a 4-seam guy. That's not his best pitch. He's a sinker ball pitcher. He's obviously out of the kick change. We know about the sweeper slider pitch, but on any given day, whatever's feeling the best coming out of his hands based on the conditions, based on what the other team is looking for and what they're hunting and the swing paths of the other lineup, making adjustments. That's the name of the game. And Clay did a great job on Tuesday afternoon.
All right. Number 1. I don't think you're going to be surprised by this one, guys. Pete Alonso's double after the Juan Soto intentional walk. I mean, John, I was in the social media booth. You were in the control room. I'll tell you, in that room, the second Juan Soto got walked, everybody was screaming, why? How? What are you doing? That's the hottest guy in baseball right now. I mean, was it the same thing over there?
I think that this goes back to what we've talked about on this very show when we talked about it with Mendy, that putting Soto in front of Alonso is protection for Pete because he will continue to not just hit with runners in scoring position. Well, yes, hit with runners in scoring position, but when he does, there's no room for error for the other team.
Yeah.
The other pitcher needs to come over the plate. And Pete's locked in right now. I think that Pete's playing like a man who's having fun out there. And he talked about it after the game live with Steve Gelbs on the field. This entire team is playing well. They're keeping the line moving offensively. They are not hurting themselves. They're not beating themselves. They're not running into outs. They're putting together really good at bats. They're seeing a lot of pitches per plate appearance. They don't hit a lot of ground balls. They have the 3rd lowest ground ball rate in baseball. So when they are getting runners on, they're not hitting into a lot of double plays. Obviously, on the pitching side, they're doing a great job. Other than a few miscues defensively, they've played pretty crisp ball defensively. Carlos Mendoza in the manager's seat in the corner of the dugout has pushed virtually all the right buttons. It's all working for the Mets right now, I think. And for Pete Alonso to continue to be coming up with runners in scoring position because the guys in front of him always get on base the way that they do. It's easy. I don't want to say it's easy for Pete. I'm sitting here in a zip chair talking about things post game in my sweatshirt, but he's making it look easy. And I think that the guys around him in the lineup are making this game easier and helping put Pete in position to have success.
Yeah, look, we've said it before. We said it in the last episode. This is outside of 2019, which, like, I mean, I think I said this the other day too. Until I went back and looked at Pete Alonso's 2019 start, I forgot just how good that start was. 5 home runs in the first 10 games, just absolutely on fire. But this year, it's different because you're seeing a very well-rounded player. And I don't think this is a flash. I don't think this is just like a small 1-week sample size. Because in 2019, in 2020, and in 2021, we were seeing Pete Alonso be a guy who actually, like, he had a good feel for the ball. We saw a guy that was hitting around, like 240 to 260 his first few years, like, at different points. We saw a guy who could be a good contact hitter outside of a power hitter. So I don't think this is going to be a small sample size. I think we're going to see this over the course of the year.
Well, look, the batting average fluctuates, right? Like, there's a lot that goes into batting average. That's why Hunter's talking average before in the booth. I'm like, come on, Hunter, right? You're a smarter baseball man than that. But for Pete, much like Mark Vientos, he is not chasing. He is not striking out much at all. That's my favorite part about this. Last year, he was chasing. We've talked about it on this show, but he has cut his chase rate dramatically. He has cut his whiff rate dramatically. I'm sure if we asked Pete, is the presence of Juan Soto and the way that he carries himself in the batter's box one of the lowest swing rates in baseball, is that impacting you and your approach a little bit? I'm sure even if they haven't had a conversation about it, Pete just standing in the batter's box, watching Soto, the way that he carries himself in the batter's box, the way that he stares down pitches into the catcher's glove, the way that he waits to jump on the pitch he wants to swing at and do the most damage on, I'm sure through osmosis in a way, it is helping everyone in that lineup be in more control of each plate appearance. So whether that's something that is consciously happening or just sort of happening by Soto's presence, it seems to be rubbing off because all the guys in this lineup are taking a more, I would call, Juan Soto-like approach in their plate appearances.
Yeah, and we heard that one of the benefits of having Juan Soto on your team is that these guys have said they like Juan Soto's a guy that they talk to. Juan Soto's a guy that they get advice from.
Ultimate professional.
He's a guy that's always giving feedback. I mean, we've even seen Juan Soto go up to guys on the on deck circle, just giving them some notes like as he's walking off. So the Juan Soto presence is real. And lineup protection, I mean, I think it's so understated, especially when you think of the context of this Mets team, because I go back to 2021 and I think about Francisco Lindor's struggles in 2021. And I think about the team that was around Francisco Lindor at that time and how different the team looks today. And then when Francisco Lindor really got hot in 2022, you were seeing that was when this team started getting built around more. That's when you saw the addition of a guy like Starling Marte, who had an incredible 2022. And if you remember, 21 was that year it was weird. It was the most the most IL stints of any Mets team we had seen it in this team's history. It was crazy. I mean, like,
a lot of injuries.
Look, I don't know if you guys agree with me.
McNeil got hurt. Conforto got hurt. That's
when Tim Tebow doesn't retire that year, I'm convinced he makes it to the Mets.
Right. Janesh Vargas was playing games. Khalil Leo was playing games for the Mets. Cameron Maybin, Kevin Pillar before he got hurt.
Jonathan VR.
Oh, he was an everyday player.
He was, and he had some good moments.
He did.
Some fun moments. But my point is this: you go back to that, and then you see as these different pieces get put into place. You saw Francisco Lindor start to go in a heater. Now I think we're at a place where the reason you're seeing success from guys like Brandon Nimmo, you're seeing success from guys like Pete Alonso, is because this team is really well-rounded right now. And I feel great about this team.
And I think to wrap that up, I think that what's so nice about this team and the way it's constructed is that no one feels like they need to be the guy.
Yes.
Because there are a bunch of the guys, and on any given night, it could be anybody carrying the freight. So it's not all on Lindor like it was in 2021. It's not all on Soto. It's not all on Pete Alonso. It's not all on Brandon Nimmo. It's not all on Mark Vientos. It's not all on Francisco Alvarez when he comes back. It's not all on Jeff McNeil when he comes back. It's not all on Starling Marte or Jesse Winker. Everyone can just relax and be one of the guys. Just take your 4 at-bats, take your 4 plate appearances, get at bat, get hits, get on base, make the other pitcher work, make him throw his best stuff, make him show you his entire arsenal. Someone else is going to see that. Go up there, go back to the dugout, let someone know, hey, he's tipping. Hey, look for this in this pitch sequence. Hey, look for that. And everyone can just go and be the best version of themselves. And that also is what the addition of Juan Soto helps create.
100%. And look, why don't we move on now to talk about what is in our future, our close future, and then we'll move on to our distant future. But the Mets are going to not Oakland, not Las Vegas. They're going to Sacramento this weekend.
Shout out Chris Webber. Shout out Mike Bibby.
Get ready for a weird few days.
Shout out Peja Stojakovic.
Get ready for a weird few days in a different looking ballpark.
Brad Miller. I'm just naming Sacramento Kings.
Okay. Do you want to keep doing it?
Can I? Vlade Divac. He played for the Kings. Yeah, him and Shaq went head to head. Oh, Mike Christie. Doug Christie. Mike Christie. Baby and Christie. I forget Christie's first name.
Okay.
This is when I was a bigger NBA fan. Anyway.
But yeah, the Mets are heading to Sacramento. And I mean, there's 2 minor league ballparks that are being major league ballparks this year. But did the Mets in 2020, did they play any games at the minor league field that year?
Yeah, they
did,
played
right?
at Salem Field. Yeah, Dom Smith hit a grand slam on 9/11 there.
Yeah, so I mean, like we've seen it a little before, and in the not so distant past, but now we're heading into this one. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to 10 p.m. Friday night watching Mets athletics.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's going to be a different look. It's a smaller stadium, obviously. I checked the weather. It's going to be very warm, 80 plus degrees all 3 days. So I think that is a real positive thing. I think for this Mets, I think for any offense, going from playing in the conditions the Mets just dealt with, especially these last 3 days, to going to California, a Pacific League stadium, that is a league with a ton of offense. And we looked at this before Hunter and I did. Hunter, I think no game has seen fewer than 9 runs at that stadium, and 5 of the 6 have had 11 plus runs scored.
4 of the 5, yeah.
4 out of the 5. Oh yeah, they're playing the Padres today. They're wrapping up their series with San Diego. So it's an environment for runs, and I think that a lot of Mets are probably going to be chomping at the bit to hit there. The air is thin. It's pretty hot, so it's a good place for the ball to carry. The Mets are going to be facing J.P. Sears on Friday, Joey Estes, who pitched here at Citi Field last year, and then former friend Luis Severino, who's had a rough go of it. 11 runs over his last 13 innings in his past 2 starts, including 4 home runs allowed. And a lot of the Mets on this team in this lineup quite familiar with Sevy, so it'll be nice to see Sevy. But I think it's a good spot for the Mets to be traveling to for this offense to really get going, get away from New York, hit the road, some more good team camaraderie, some good team bonding for the second road trip, and some guys just really start to get it going. I think Mark Vientos is going to have a huge series in Oakland, or you know what, we should have done something. We should have put a jar on the table, and every time we said Oakland, throw $1 in it.
I'm locked in on Sacramento
like
right
the
now.
Shea jar. But the thing is, they're not even branded as Sacramento,
No,
so
they're
it's
just the
confusing.
Athletics.
They're not allowed to go by.
There's never been a team that's done this before, right? There's never been a team that was just their name.
No, I don't think so. You know, Manny Ramirez played for the Sacramento River Cats.
I didn't know that.
Back in the day. Yeah, he was a River Cat. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
It's a good nug.
Well,
Manny Ramirez, all-time almost Met.
Yep.
There was marketing creative that leaked. Manny's on board, are you? Sosa too. Sammy Sosa.
You know what would be a fun episode one day?
All the Mets that almost happened.
All-time almost Met.
I was just gonna say that would be an all-timer.
Who else?
Drafting all-time almost Mets.
Correa is on that, obviously.
Yeah, that.
I mean,
who else?
It's a hot start.
Jonathan Lucroy. I feel like there was a lot of Lucroy to the Mets in 2016. Never happened.
We brought this up, I think, to him, but to Omar Minaya, but Barry Zito.
Oh yeah, all offseason, everyone thought. But that was more because like they needed a starter after the 06 season because they were throwing Maine and Ollie, which wasn't bad.
A guy that was here this week, George Springer.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. Forgot about that one. Yeah, there's another one. I'm not going to say his name, but that same offseason. Pitcher.
Oh, yeah.
From UCLA.
Yeah.
He was a near Met too.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of like near Mets.
We're just doing the episode right now.
We're gonna do an episode of some type of near Mets. Because it's
pretty good.
Electric. A-Rod.
Vlad Guerrero, senior. Vladimir Guerrero. Near Met. 02. All right, we should stop.
We should stop. No more near Mets. How about we talk about near Mets in the terms of minor leaguers who are almost here? All right, so let's move over. We're going to talk future of Flushing. These are just some standout minor leaguers you want to give a shout out to. I want to start off talking about the Cyclones because I went to a Cyclones game last weekend. I brought it up in the last episode. The Cyclones are hot right now, dude.
They are. That lineup is loaded. Boston Barrow, a lefty, who is definitely younger than league average age in the Sally League, hit his first home run of the season today. A tough place. Not just a homer for a lefty to right field, but especially at this time of the year, April 9th, wind blowing in off the water for Boston Barrow to put one through that wind. Very impressive. Jacob Reimer's off to a great start. Eli Serrano III is off to a great start. Nick Roselli, a Long Island kid, Binghamton University product, off to a great start. Chris Suero, we talked about him. Ronald Hernandez off to a great start. DeAndre Smith, the kid we saw at the Arizona Fall League a couple years ago. Spark plug, can play all over the place, puts the ball in play. Small, tight strike zone. Really, really good ball player. off to a great start. And today, Jonathan Santucci, one of the Mets' top picks in last year's draft from the University of Duke, or Duke University. Don't want to mix that up. He started today. 4 good innings for Santucci, the southpaw. Saw he struck out George Lombard Jr. Made him look bad, honestly. So Cyclones are lit, man. They really are. They've got a lot of good talent right there. And that is, as we spoke about for many, many episodes on Future of Flushing, the trickle-up effect. We saw a lot of these guys either be drafted last year or a couple years ago, started in the FCL, then went to PSL. That FCL team in 2023 made the postseason.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing these guys start to move up. In St. Lucie, you got A.J. Ewing, who's off to a really good start. There's just a lot to like at all levels of the minors, but like you mentioned, Cyclones, you guys got to go out there to Maimonides Park.
Yeah, I mean, Boston Barrow is really exciting to watch, and seeing the player he's just grown into over the last year and a half since we met him back in 23 is really impressive. And again, guys, if you don't know this, if you haven't listened to the minor league stuff we've done before, Maimonides Park, not an easy place to hit at. Not an easy place to hit home runs at either.
No, not at all. Especially for a lefty.
And I will tell you, I was there. It's cold in April. It is unbearable. I would say it feels like 27.
Sure you would.
All right, let's talk about some other guys. Drew Gilbert rehabbing on his way back, which, it's been a long time for Drew Gilbert to get back into some game action. So excited to see that. He's a guy that if he gets back, he comes back healthy, gets off to a hot start, continues that into later into the season. He's always a guy that could be a factor on this Mets team.
100%. I mean, injuries slowed him down last year, showed up to camp, still hurt. Rehabbing right now for PSL. Hopefully he's with Syracuse pretty soon. Another weapon in that Syracuse lineup. And, he's a guy that came over in that Justin Verlander deal. We've been excited about him since he joined the organization. People in the organization are excited about Drew Gilbert. I think for Drew, it's just a matter of getting on the field, staying on the field, continuing to play each and every day. And, he's a kid who's going to play in the big leagues. So good to see he's rehabbing and on his way back to what will probably be the Syracuse Mets. And then from there, you never know.
And then one of our favorites to talk about, to watch pitch, Jonah Tong will be going for the Rumble Ponies in the today's doubleheader. But yeah, Jonah Tong, if you haven't seen him pitch, go watch him. Go tune into MILB TV because Jonah Tong he's a real treat, and he's somebody that I think I could say everybody in this room is really rooting for and wanting to see him just grow in this organization.
Yeah, he's a big part of the Met future. So also want to shout out Will Watson, who made a season debut, a 2024 draftee out of USC. That is South Carolina, not the Gamecocks. Have to make that distinction. Not a Gamecock, a Trojan. But 7th round pick, made a season debut, struck out 7 batters in 4 1/3. No hit innings on Tuesday. So another arm in the system. Jack Wenninger, we talked about him. He had a great season debut for for Binghamton last Tuesday. I think Wenninger is pitching tomorrow, I believe it is. So it's really exciting that all these affiliates are getting going. One time through the rotations now, we're seeing where guys have started. Many guys off to great starts. Also want to shout out Joey Meneses, who was a really, really solid organizational depth signing by the Mets, a guy that could DH, a guy that could play first base. He's off to a great start offensively. So who knows? Joey Meneses could be a guy in April not many people are talking about. Come mid-May, late May, similar to what we saw last year, could be making an impact for the New York Mets. He accepted his assignment to AAA. We know he's a guy who was hit at the major league level. Said this before on the show. He's the guy who, the day the Nationals traded Juan Soto to the Padres, made his big league debut and homered in his big league debut that day. I think it was against, who was it against? I forget who he hit it against. I probably shouldn't have said it. I probably should have kept talking instead of exposing myself. But he homered against the Mets, had a really solid 2023 season, a guy that can absolutely hit at the major league level, and just another really shrewd move by this organization, beefing up the depth. Joey Meneses is off to a great start for AAA Syracuse.
So that's your Future of Flushing update, all the minor league info you guys need. But yeah, look, a really incredible first week here at Citi Field. Everybody was wondering, are the vibes going to be back this early? Are we going to see packed ballparks? Are we going to see people pumped up having a good time? And the answer is yes. I mean, this weekend was insane. And then to have 3 weekday games in April with the crowds we had, with that weather, I'm very, very proud of this fan base.
Yeah, and once again, the run prevention by the Mets. I think that we have seen what the formula is for the Mets. It's going to be Griffin Canning on Friday, David Peterson on Saturday, Kodai Senga on Sunday. And for Carlos Mendoza, I think it's been 2 times through. Maybe you let a guy start the 3rd time through. that gets you to the, into the 5th inning at least. Maybe we go into the 6th inning, and the Mets have multiple guys that can bridge you to the back end of the bullpen, whether it's Kranick, whether it's Brazoban, whether it's Buto, who's done a great job. And if one of those guys is used and he's down the next day, you got 2 or 3 other guys that can help you out there. Daniel Nunez on the way back. This is the formula. This is the way. And the Mets are doing it without Sean Manaea and Frankie Montas healthy. And if we told you that before the season, way back in January, at the start of spring training, you'd say you guys are crazy. But the Mets are having success even with that being the case.
Well, these people were telling us that the pitching was bad and that the Mets had no pitching.
But there's a plan, and it's not the conventional, we need our starting pitchers to go 6-7 innings. It's we've got a depth of arms. Jose Buto, former starter. Max Kranick, starter in the Pirate system. Huáscar Brazoban, starter when he first was signed by the Marlins. Many guys are. But a guy that can go out there and get you 6 outs. We've seen it many times. So the Mets, I think, have this system figured out.
There's a recipe. There's a very clear recipe. There's a very clear organizational philosophy.
There is.
And it's have relievers who can eat up innings, take pressure off of your starters, because when you get to August and you get to September, you want your boys to feel healthy.
You do.
And right now we're seeing that. I mean, like the second somebody looks a little off, hey, come out, especially in April. Come out. Let's get you a break. Let's get Max Kranick in there for 2-3 innings. And then when these guys are just finishing out games and just like looking like Brazoban being able to finish 3 games and just close out a night, like there is a recipe for success here. This is a great team, and it's the same thing we saw last year. Everybody's like, the Mets have no pitching, and what did we do last year? We had great pitching.
Yeah, and I said it last year. We talked about it. I think that the you need an ace thing, I think it's an overrated concept. You need guys that are going to go out there, give your team a chance to win, not implode early, give your offense a chance to either get a big lead or stay within touch, get into the other team's bullpen. You asked Mendy about that. I mean, look, I think on Saturday night when John Schneider pulled Chris Bassett, it's kind of a gift. Today on Wednesday, the Mets ran into Max Meyer, who was the 3rd overall pick in 2020 out of the University of Minnesota. There's a reason he was drafted that high. Made his debut in 2022, had Tommy John surgery. Now he's back. He's a really good pitcher. We talked about not seeing Sandy. That was fortunate for the Mets, but Max Meyer is a guy who's had a really, really strong start to the season. We know he took a no-hitter into the 5th inning, the 6th inning today. So you tip your cap, but still, this team is clicking on all cylinders. They're doing everything well, and that's what you need. You need a deep lineup. You need a strong bench. You need pitchers who are going to give you a chance to win every day. You need starters who can go 5, maybe 6 innings. You need a bullpen that's competent. You need options in the bullpen. You need to be able to trust many guys. Mendy trusts, I think, every guy in that bullpen. The first reliever all the way down to Edwin Diaz. We haven't even talked about Jeff McNeil. He's going to be starting a rehab assignment soon. Francisco Alvarez was playing catch with the catcher's glove.
Both were hitting outside here in New York, going to Florida to start rehabbing. So
this team is not at full strength, and they are 8-4 after the first 12 games. And I encourage you guys, if you are not watching the entire league, take a look at the standings. Take a look at what's going on around baseball. The Dodgers are 9-4. After their great start, they hit the stumbling, but they stumbled a bit. The Mets are one of the better teams in baseball. The Cubs are off to a good start in the National League. Giants are off to a good start. What do we have here? What did that say?
Wait, Ed, I like that. Ed said, how about the guys behind the plate? Nice to have a guy or two who could throw down. Absolutely.
100%. The Mets have, I think, the best duo in baseball when it comes to controlling the running game. And Hayden Sanger's done a nice job offensively, putting the ball in play, not striking out a whole lot. And we know that Luis Torrens is a very, very underrated offensive catcher. You got another comment for us this week?
Michael wants to know where we're casting from.
We are casting from a room in the back of the press conference room.
Press conference room is right there.
Here at Citi Field. Carlos Mendoza talks to the media right out there. And this is our little home away from home. Actually, it is our home.
Yeah, we live here. We sleep here at night. We don't leave this room.
We've pretty much slept here the last 10 days. So yeah, it's been a long time.
Any other ones? Any other ones you want to put up? No? All right. Well, look, guys, it's been a fun week here. It's going to be a fun weekend. Like John said, look at the standings. And one fun note was, look, Phillies play a game tonight. They could win, they could lose. Who knows? But for the first time since April of 2023, the Mets were in first place.
Yeah, I hate that note.
But you know what? It is nice. Like to not have touched it at all last year. And I want to bring up last year, if this team didn't get off to the start they got off to last year,
they would have won 90 plus.
If they didn't have that May last year, the division was almost in striking distance for this team last year towards the end of the year. When we were playing those games with Philly, it was there. So I'm saying, look, it's time to be positive. We're looking down at the end of the season. The Mets are playing good right now, and that's all that matters. Win tomorrow, win the next day. And that's what makes this Mets team so different and so dangerous. They went through last year. they lose a game, they know that in the grand scheme of things, what's that going to mean?
That's the blessing and curse of baseball, is that you play every day. So you're gonna, the old adage, you're gonna win 60, you're gonna lose 60. It's about what you do with the other 42, I guess, and that's really kind of what separates you.
Yeah, you've said, I forgot who you said that to. You said that to somebody last year of like, you're gonna win 60 games, you're gonna lose 60 games. It's what you do with that 40. And like it's the best way to put it, because it is that magic number of,
yeah. Well, maybe it's win 50, lose 50, because we did see a team not win 60, a couple teams not win 60 recently. So maybe it should be you're going to win 50, lose 50, and then it's the other 62 that really make a difference. But since you play every day, you're going to lose some. You're going to go to bed feeling upset.
No team's ever going to go 162-0.
No, I thought the Dodgers might. For a second there, I was like, wait a minute, is this about to happen? But didn't happen. But yeah, no. And look, the Phillies come to Citi Field after the Cardinals on the next homestand. It's Cardinals for 4, and the Phillies come here for the first time. That'll be a whole lot of fun. I know it's way down the road, but the Mets will get a crack at the Phillies. I know a lot of people have been saying, hey, let's see them. How do they stack up with LA and Philadelphia? I think with baseball also, it's all about when you catch a team, right?
Yeah. Well, because think about it. Right now, if you're playing the Braves, you're in a great position. But we're playing the Braves towards the end of the year. That's going to be completely different.
They could be a healthier team, feeling great about themselves.
So it's like you said, it's all about when you play guys. If you played the Mets in April of last year, it's a lot different than when you played the Mets in July than August of last year.
Yeah.
So we will see. But thank you guys for listening. This was Meet at the Apple Live, recording live from Citi Field behind the press conference room. And you can follow me on Twitter at Vito F. Khaleesi. That's John at JMB9191. Hunter Taubes at Hunter Taubes. Ben Smith, talented designer who makes all of our thumbnails in the room also.
Ben's the man.
Ben is the guy.
And he does good impressions, too.
Ben is a master impressionist.
Although I haven't really seen him fully.
If you ever meet Ben Smith, ask me to do an impression for you. But guys, thank you so much. Follow this podcast, Apple, Spotify, iTunes, wherever you get your podcast. Just go subscribe. Give us a 5-star rating. Give us a review.
Oh, one more thing. Sorry. Bad time to cut you off.
No, go.
So many people were saying hi at Citi Field this weekend. We really appreciate everyone saying hi. We love you guys. So thank you so much for listening and saying hi. And please, all season long, just like you want to tell us we're great, whatever you think we stink, that's fine. You agree, disagree with an opinion, whatever. But we really appreciate that. It means a lot. So thank you, everybody, for that. Happy to meet a lot of faces. You guys are the best.
Cool.
Sorry, Vito, for cutting you off there.
See you guys next time.